Hello everyone. Finally, I'm back with the second episode of my mini review series, whatever you want to call it. Basically a series that I do on my channel when I've played a few games. I'll do like a little wrap up slash thoughts slash review kind of video where I give like short reviews for each game I played as opposed to full-blown review videos because I don't want to do full-blown reviews for all of the games I play. So we'll go in the order that I played these in because I do actually remember this time. So first up we have Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. I loved this game, like really loved this game. Still love it, you know. I don't know why I said that in past tense. This is basically the Rune Factory game that I had wanted. It is my favourite Rune Factory game now. For reference, my favourite Rune Factory games prior to this were Rune Factory 3 and Rune Factory Tides of Destiny / Oceans, which I still really like, but Guardians of Azuma is my favourite one now. Like, personally, I just feel like it gets the formula of like RPG / farming sim hybrid perfect. Like, it's got the perfect balance, for me personally at least. It also has town building mechanics in it because this being a spin-off of Rune Factory as opposed to one of the mainline Rune Factory games, the spin-offs tend to have like a little bit of a different take, some new mechanics or something different going on in them as opposed to the mainline ones. In this one, it's the town building mechanics. They just work really well. I just really like it. And also, we know that I like town building mechanics because I am a Dark Cloud girly. So that was very appealing to me. And I really love the fact that it's set in like an Eastern inspired fantasy world, you know, Azuma. And I just was obsessed with this game. It's not very often that I have come across a game, if I'm being perfectly honest, where I will sit there and play it all day and struggle to put my controller down. But that's exactly what happened with this game. I was absolutely just devouring this game. And I just think that, like I said, it gets the Rune Factory formula just right because it's supposed to be a farming sim / RPG hybrid. And I really like that the focus is, I guess, more so on like the RPG aspects in this game, and farming takes a little bit of a backseat. It doesn't have to, but you can streamline it a lot if you want to, meaning that you don't even have to touch the farming anymore once you set it up and you have the villagers doing the farming for you. I just really like that because although I do like farming sims, for example, I really like Stardew Valley. I've always really liked the Harvest Moon games, now Story of Seasons. When it comes to Rune Factory, historically for me, like with Rune Factory 3 or Rune Factory Tides of Destiny, I'm always way more focused on like the RPG elements of the game and character interactions and the relationship aspects of the game. I definitely prefer those aspects over the farming when it comes to Rune Factory games. And I also feel like they just flesh all of that out a bit more in this game. Not saying that other Rune Factory games don't have really good storylines, but the Guardians of Azuma story is really good in my opinion. Like, it's not groundbreaking, or I suppose necessarily on the level of a lot of JRPG stories, but it's not really necessarily meant to be because it's a hybrid. But the story is pretty strong. The characters are really good. I love the characters in this game. That's the other thing as well, is characters are really important in a Rune Factory game because there's relationship mechanics. You know, the kind of one of the big aspects of Rune Factory games is building relationships with all of the villagers and potentially marrying someone. That is an aspect of these types of games that I do really like, admittedly. I poured over 100 hours into this game in the span of 2 weeks, which I know is very jobless behavior, but I am jobless at the moment. So, and I love everything about it. I love the soundtrack as well. I really like the soundtrack in this game and the environments. I really like the environments. Like I said, the characters. With a lot of these types of games, the only way you can like build your relationship with other characters is by giving them gifts. And I don't have like an issue with that, but I definitely like that they add actual social interactions in there. So you can, every day you can talk with each villager, and on top of that you can have like a special interaction of some sort where you can either give them a gift, and then there's all these other social interactions you can choose from, and each character has certain social interactions that they like more than others and some that they dislike. So they all kind of have their own likes and dislikes outside of just gifts, which is pretty cool as well. It just makes trying to build relationships with these characters a bit more fun and a bit more fleshed out. And something I also love about this game is that once you've married a character, you open the possibilities of being literally like a dimensional shifter. So you can literally shift from one dimension or timeline to another and marry someone else if you want to. All of your progress carries over outside of like who you've married. That sets their relationship back down to like normal. And then you can romance someone else. Just think that that's kind of genius. I really like that. That means you can romance everyone without really cheating on them, except that you are, because, you know, you're jumping between different dimensions and marrying different people there, but you know. So that's what I was doing after finishing the main story of the game. But I had to put the brakes on it a bit because I was putting a lot of time into this game and I had other games that I wanted to play, so I had to hit the brakes a bit and think like, okay, Laura, I think it's time to stop with this game for now because there's other games you want to play. I know you want to romance everyone, but maybe we should come back to that later and do it at a later date, you know? I love that game. It's probably, not even exaggerating, it's probably my game of the year. I haven't played all of the games that have come out this year, obviously. I've only played a few, but it is probably my game of the year. You can judge me for that if you want, but I love that game. I'm really kind of excited to see where the Rune Factory franchise goes after this, because I know that there's Rune Factory 6 that's like in the works, and we're going to get that at some point. And there'll probably be more spin-off games. I really hope that they keep going with spin-offs, kind of like Guardians of Azuma. I'd love to see more spin-offs kind of like that. Then once I finally managed to tear myself away from Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, I played Code Realized Guardians of Rebirth, which is an Otome visual novel game. Yes, I do like my Otome visual novel games. I really like romance. What can I say? And Otome games, one of the main aspects is always romance. I actually knew about Code Realize ages ago because I watched the anime adaptation like 10 years ago or something. Over 10 years ago probably. And I did like the anime. The anime adaptation isn't like amazing. Adaptation, I mean. And I did like the anime, but you know, I knew that it was based off of a visual novel and I kind of wanted to play the visual novel, but I didn't have a Vita. So at the time I couldn't play the game. For reference, this does have a Switch port now. So if you don't have a Vita, don't worry. You can play it on the Switch. So kind of like the other Otome visual novels I've played, there's 5 bachelors. You know, you get to choose whose route you want to play through. But the poster boy / main route, if you will, is always locked. And you have to play through all of the other love interests routes first and get the happy ending before you can unlock his route. And tell me why it is that the locked route is always my favorite one. I knew that the poster boy / main guy, or whatever you want to call it, for this game was Lupin going into this. He just had to be my favorite one. I mean, I don't mind playing through all of the routes. Like, I would play through all the routes anyway, but it's kind of like, you know, it has a very interesting story, this one. Like, there's a lot going on in this story. What I really like about Otome visual novel games is because they have different routes. As you play through each route, you're kind of uncovering more parts of like the overarching story and mystery and loads of different plot points. And when you get to the main routes, that's when everything kind of comes together and you discover pretty much everything. Although I do really like that you kind of need to play through everyone's routes to really get the whole story. There's certain aspects of the story and certain details about certain characters that you don't know or won't learn about unless you play through their specific route. So I just really like that sort of thing about visual novel games, like otome ones at least. I haven't played any visual novels that aren't otome games yet. But I will do. The art and the character designs are really cool. I really like that it's set in it's a steampunk aesthetic, because I do really like steampunk aesthetics, and I really like that it's set in the UK. So it's about this girl called Cardia who is locked up in this mansion because she is poisonous. Like, her skin and her blood are poisonous, so she's being locked away from people, and she's kind of considered a monster by the people in the village that know that she lives there and like don't approach her. And the royal army, I think it was sent in to like abduct her, but Lupin appears to save her / kidnap her himself. But he's saving her. And that's where the story starts. And there's like loads of mysteries about, you know, why is this girl poisonous in the first place? Why is she locked away in that mansion? Where is her father that she's been waiting for ages to come home? What is going on? If you want an otome game to play, I definitely recommend this. Make sure you get Guardians of Rebirth though, be it on Vita or Switch, because that's the first game and there's 2 fan discs as well, which I know can be confusing. The fan discs are like sequel content. You have to have played the main game first. So yeah, Guardians of Rebirth is the main game. Then after that, I started playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I did make a full review for this. And basically, to summarize, I definitely understand why people have been raving about this game so much. I didn't get it at first until I reached Act 3, and then I was like, oh, okay, I understand, because then everything comes together and you understand what the developers were going for with the story and with their overall approach with this game. That's when I really found like appreciation for the game and understood why everyone was raving about it so much. For me, the battle system is good, but it's not my new favourite battle system or anything like that. I do prefer more traditional turn-based battle systems over what they decided to go for in Expedition 33, which is a turn-based battle system with parrying and time-based mechanics in it. Basically, what I've noticed is, so I've played Stellar Blade, which has a real-time action battle system with parrying in it. And what I've come to realize, I think, is that I do like parrying in my battle systems, but only if it's real-time action. I'm not as much of a fan of having parrying in a turn-based battle system. I don't really know why, but that's just me personally. I'm just being honest. I don't dislike the battle system. I like it, but yeah. Just I would take a more traditional turn-based system over that one probably. But overall, it is a very good game. So if you have been thinking about playing this, I do recommend it, because although it's not like for me, if you like Souls games, for example, there's a good chance you'll like this because it's a dark fantasy setting. It has a turn-based battle system with parrying mechanics and time-based mechanics in it, like I said, and like the story is really good. I can definitely see this winning Game of the Year, like at least being nominated for it. And I don't know why I didn't mention the soundtrack in my review, but the soundtrack is really good as well. It's not like a new favorite game of all time for me or anything, but I did very much enjoy it and I'm glad I played it. Then after that, I finished the Crash Sane Trilogy. I had already played the first game last year. I played the second game at the beginning of this year, and I started the third game about 5 months ago or something, and I've now finished it. This is a thing with me. I start games, and then with a lot of games, I will end up where I just take a break and then come back to them. And it's not necessarily that I didn't enjoy them. It's just that I don't know. I don't know why I do that. I think it must be because I started Crash 3 after having not long finished Crash 2, so I think I basically just didn't feel like playing a platformer. But after playing Expedition 33, I felt like playing a platformer, so I thought, you know what, I'll go back to Crash because I haven't finished it. I had never played the original Crash trilogy on the original PlayStation. The Crash games that I grew up with were Crash Bash, Crash Team Racing on the PlayStation. I never played the original Crash trilogy, even though I was always curious about it and wanted to try it, but never had those games. Also never had demos for them, so never got to play them until now. Really good games. I think the first Crash game is my favorite one from the trilogy, partly because of how hard it is, which kind of sounds weird because I don't necessarily like playing through games that are very difficult because that can very much affect my enjoyment of a game. But it doesn't seem to bother me with platformers so much, and I don't really know why that is, but for me, if a platformer is really difficult and it takes me a whole day to clear a level, that doesn't seem to bother me as much for some reason. But it can do with other games. It can really kind of dampen my enjoyment. Yeah, I really enjoyed these. The first one is my favorite. I don't know how I would rank the other two, but they're all really good, you know? I think they're all really good games. Platformers are also another genre of game that I really like. I think it goes JRPGs, platformers, farming sims. Maybe it's more like JRPGs, platformers, and visual novel romance, like otome games, then farming sims. Kind of just generally, I don't know. And then after that, I thought I would play Professor Layton in the Curious Village because I thought, you know what? Why don't I use my brain? So I knew that this is essentially a visual novel game with loads of puzzles in it. And going into it, I thought to myself, one of two things is going to happen here. Either I'm going to play it and realize that I'm not as dumb as I thought I was, or I would play it and realize that I'm dumber than I thought. And somehow both of those things ended up happening simultaneously, which doesn't make sense. But I mean, it did, I don't know. It took me a while to finish it because some of the puzzles were just really hard. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of them I did have to look up on the internet how to complete them because I was so confused. Your girl isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, okay? I already knew this going into it, but I'm someone who doesn't like to use my brain too much. So puzzle games, unless we're talking about platformers that have puzzle elements in them, like actual puzzle games like Professor Layton, for example, aren't necessarily my sort of thing because, like I said, I don't like using my brain. But I wanted to play one anyway because it is important to, you know, keep your cognitive functioning going. And I figured, well, that's probably a good way to do it. So I did. Some of the puzzles tripped me up quite a bit because some of them were trick questions. So I'd have to reread the problem multiple times for some of the puzzles, and then I'd be like, I see what you're doing, they're level 5. You almost got me. So yes, did I cheat to complete the game? Yes, because I did look up some of the puzzles online. You can call me dumb. I don't really care. So the overarching mystery and story kind of going on in the game is interesting, but the highlight is definitely the puzzles. That's like the main element of the game in my opinion. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I will probably play more Professor Layton games, but they're not like really high up on my list, you know, because my brain needs a rest after that. There were some puzzles that I found easier than I thought I would. For example, the algebra questions, I did not think that because I'm terrible at maths. My brain, if you ask me to do mental arithmetics or you ask me a maths problem, it basically just instantly shuts down and it doesn't want to cooperate. So going into any mathematical questions or problems, I was like, oh, great. But my brain actually pulled through. surprisingly, I didn't struggle with the algebra questions as much as I thought. Like, I actually managed to answer them without looking up the answer or having to use too many of the hints. So I was quite satisfied with that. If you've played Professor Layton, let me know if you struggled with the puzzles quite a lot or if I'm just dumb. But anyway, those are all the games that I played recently. Let me know what you've been playing recently in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.